The Hidden Kingdom. Under my bed. Once, in a sleepy town cloaked in the gentle embrace of twilight, there lived a boy named Oliver. He was a sprightly child with a mop of unruly chestnut hair and a pair of glasses that always slid down his nose. Oliver had an insatiable appetite for stories. He devoured tales of dragons, of distant worlds, and of adventures that stretched the very fabric of imagination. Oliver's bedroom was a sanctuary of wonder. Model spaceships hung from the ceiling, posters of mythical lands adorned the walls, and his bed was a fortress of pillows and blankets. But the most extraordinary thing about Oliver's room was not something anyone could see at first glance. It was a secret, a mystery that even Oliver hadn't uncovered until that peculiar night. It was the eve of his 10th birthday, and the clock had just chimed for midnight. The house lay silent, save for the whispers of the wind against the window pane. Oliver, restless with anticipation for the morning celebrations, was far from the land of dreams. With a sigh, he dropped a small toy soldier that had fallen to the floor, and as he lifted his bedskirt to retrieve it, he froze. Beneath his bed, where there should have been dust bunnies and long-forgotten socks, there lay an entire kingdom. It was a land of rolling emerald hills and sapphire lakes, of towering castles with spires that tickled the belly of the sky, and of forests so lush they seemed to pulse with life. The Hidden Kingdom. Under my bed, as Oliver would come to call it, was alive with the twinkling lights of a city and the harmonious melodies of an unseen orchestra. With a heart thundering against his ribs, Oliver crawled beneath his bed, the kingdom growing larger and more vivid with each inch he moved. As he emerged on the other side, he was no longer in his room, but standing at the gates of a city sculpted from marble and gold. He was greeted by a parade of creatures that were as wondrous as they were welcoming. There were elves with eyes like the dawn, dwarves with beards braided with jewels, and talking animals of every kind. They hailed him as the child of prophecy, the one foretold to arrive on the eve of a great challenge that faced their realm. Oliver learned that the kingdom was called Underbed, a realm that existed between the stitches of reality and fantasy, connected to the human world through the innocent hearts of children. But Underbed was in peril. A shadowy figure, known only as the Nightmare, had begun to leach the color from the land, casting it into monochrome and threatening to steal the joy that fueled its magic. The king of Underbed, a noble lion with a mane of white, beseeched Oliver for aid. "Brave child," he began, his voice rich and commanding, "our world survives through the dreams and happiness of your realm. The Nightmare seeks to trap us in eternal gloom. You, who can walk between worlds, are our only hope." Armed with a shield of belief and a sword of pure imagination, Oliver accepted the quest. His journey took him through the whispering woods, where the trees told secrets of the stars, past the mountains of mirth, where laughter bubbled like springs from the earth, and across the desert of despair, where the sands shifted with the fears of the world above. In each place, Oliver faced trials that tested his courage, his joy, and his wits. He met allies in the most unlikely of forms, a bear who spoke in riddles, a shadow that longed for light, and a mirror that reflected not appearances, but truths. Finally, he reached the lair of the Nightmare, a dark castle that hung suspended in a stormy sky. The Nightmare was a creature of nightmares indeed, with eyes that glowed like coals and a voice that rumbled like thunder. "Why do you fight for this kingdom, human child?" it boomed. "What is joy but a fleeting whisper against the roar of darkness?" Oliver squared his shoulders, his resolve unwavering. "Joy is the sunrise after the longest night, the laughter among tears, and the hope that outshines fear," he declared. "You may try to douse its light, but as long as one heart dreams, joy will endure." The battle that followed was fierce and fantastic. Oliver's imagination was his greatest weapon, conjuring shields from storybook pages, arrows of light, and steeds from the stars. The Nightmare threw nightmares at him, shadows of doubt, monsters of worry, tempests of anger. But Oliver's belief was a beacon that shattered the darkness. As the duel reached its crescendo, Oliver realized the truth. The Nightmare was not an invader of Underbed, but its creation. a manifestation of the forgotten fears and unshed tears of children. With a heart full of compassion, Oliver sheathed his sword. "You are born of our fears, but you are not our enemy," he said to the nightmare. "Let us share our joys, our dreams, and you too can be part of the wonder." To the astonishment of all, the nightmare's form began to soften, its darkness dissipating into 1,000 butterflies of every hue, which fluttered away into the brightening sky. The color returned to Underbed, more vibrant than ever, as joy and hope rekindled the hearts of its inhabitants. Oliver's quest was complete, but his journey was far from over. He stayed in Underbed long enough to see the first buds of a new era bloom, promising to return whenever the kingdom needed him. When he crawled back into his room, the sun was just peeking over the horizon, its rays a golden promise of the day to come. As Oliver grew, the memory of Underbed remained with him, a secret etched upon his heart. He would often be found with a faraway look in his eyes, a smile playing upon his lips, as if he were listening to a melody only he could hear, a melody that whispered of a hidden kingdom where joy was the greatest magic of all. And sometimes, just sometimes, when the night was still and the stars were bright, he would whisper back. As Oliver stood at the edge of his newfound kingdom, the air buzzed with magic and possibility. He took a tentative step forward, and the ground beneath his feet felt like clouds, springy and soft. The Hidden Kingdom. Under my bed was not just a figment of his imagination. It was as real as the room he had just left behind. The kingdom's citizens gathered around, their faces a mixture of awe and curiosity. They were tiny, no taller than Oliver's knee, but their spirits were grand. Among them were knights no larger than chess pieces, wearing armor that glinted in the sunlight that somehow streamed into this sub-bed realm. Fairies fluttered on gossamer wings, their laughter like the tinkling of tiny bells. A procession made its way toward Oliver. At its head was a figure of regal bearing, dressed in a cloak made of spider silk and a crown that seemed woven from the very essence of light. This, Oliver understood, was the queen of this hidden domain. "Welcome, Oliver," she said, her voice like a melody. "I am Queen Leora, and we have been expecting you." Expecting him? Oliver's eyes widened behind his glasses. "But how? I never knew." Queen Leora smiled, a gentle, knowing expression. "Our world is connected to yours through the innocence and wonder of children. When a child's heart is pure and their imagination boundless, the veil between our worlds grows thin. Tonight, as you turned 10, the veil disappeared altogether, and here you stand." She gestured to the kingdom, a panorama of beauty and peace. "Underbed has always been here, right under your nose, or should I say, your bed. It is a place where the stories of the heart take shape, where dreams can be touched, and where the forgotten playthings of childhood find a home." Oliver's gaze swept over the kingdom, and he saw his old action figures standing guard on the castle walls, stuffed animals tending to the gardens, and model airplanes soaring in the skies above. It was a child's paradise, a kingdom crafted from the detritus of his boyhood. But as he looked closer, he noticed areas of darkness, patches where no light seemed to reach, and where no creature dared to wander. "What are those shadows?" he asked, pointing to one such place. Queen Leora's face grew somber. "Those are the forgotten corners, where the fears and nightmares of children linger. They have been growing, feeding on the doubts and worries that even the youngest of hearts can feel. If left unchecked, they will spread until there is no joy left in Underbed." Oliver felt a surge of determination. He had always been the one to protect his younger sister from the monsters under the bed, and now it seemed a whole kingdom needed him. "What can I do to help?" he asked. "You must bring light to the forgotten corners," said Queen Leora. "To do this, you need to reclaim the artifacts of imagination, the shield of laughter, the sword of stories, and the crown of curiosity. They are lost in the deepest parts of Underbed, guarded by the fears that fuel the darkness." Oliver nodded, ready to face whatever lay ahead. He was guided by the Queen's counsel and accompanied by a band of the bravest citizens of Underbed. They journeyed first to the hills of hilarity, where the shield of laughter was said to be surrounded by a perpetual storm of gloom. As they approached, the air grew thick with whispers of mockery and taunting, the embodiment of every cruel joke and unkind laugh Oliver had ever heard. But he pressed on, remembering the times when laughter had been a balm, a moment shared with friends, a joke that made his parents chuckle. He reached into the storm, his heart alight with joyful memories, and grasped the shield. The storm dissipated, and laughter rang clear and true once more. Their next quest led them to the Library of Endless Tales, where the sword of stories was trapped in a web of silence, each strand a word unspoken, a story untold. Oliver approached, his mind filled with the tales he had cherished, the adventures that had kept him company on the loneliest of nights. He spoke aloud his favorite story, and the web unraveled, the sword of stories glowing with the power of 1,000 narratives. The final artifact, the crown of curiosity, awaited them in the cavern of wonders, a place where the most beautiful treasures of childhood lay, now dulled by the dust of disregard. The crown was encased in ice, each layer a question never asked, a curiosity stifled. Oliver remembered all the wonders he had pondered, the questions that had led him to learn, to explore. With each recollection, the ice melted, and the crown of curiosity was his. With the artifacts of imagination in hand, Oliver returned to the forgotten corners. He raised the shield of laughter, and joy bloomed. He wielded the sword of stories, and narratives spun around him, weaving a tapestry of brilliance. He placed the crown of curiosity upon his head, and wonder sparked, lighting up the darkness. The shadows receded, and the forgotten corners were no more. Underbed was whole once again, its magic stronger than ever. Oliver had become more than just a boy. He was a hero, a protector of dreams, and a knight of imagination. Queen Leora thanked him, and as dawn approached in the world above, she offered him a choice. You may stay here in Underbed, where you will always be young, and the stories never end, or you may return to your world, carrying with you the magic you have found. Oliver thought of his family, of the adventures yet to come, of the stories he would tell, and the dreams he would dream. With a smile, he chose to return, knowing that Underbed would always be there, just a crawl away. The kingdom under his bed remained a secret, a whispered legend between the pages of Oliver's life. And every night, before he drifted to sleep, he would smile at the thought of the wonders that lay just beneath the hidden kingdom under my bed.